Welcome to the Empowerment Show, a weekly podcast call-in show that's here to enrich and educate the community of beautiful Northeast Pennsylvania and its surrounding areas. Hosted by Kendall Stevenson. With co-host Shaquana Terry. Tonight we're joined by Keir Bradford-Grey.
All right, good evening and welcome to GenesisRadio.com. My name is Kendall Stevenson. I am the host of the Empowerment Show. This evening we have a young lady with us. Her name is Keir Bradford-Grey. Let me make sure I get it right. If anybody would like to give us a call, you can give us a call at 888-304-4401. As you know, I always like to start the show off with a moment of gratitude. Well, today I'm a little disappointed because, again, I don't have my co-host with me. But I feel so grateful for her because she's out having a great time. She's having a really, really good time. And let's hope that she continues to do so. And she is missed here at the radio station. Okay. Hello. How are you, Miss Keir Bradford-Grey?
Hey there. How are you, Kendall?
I'm doing well. It's so nice to have you back here again.
Oh, it's great to be back. And I'm really glad that we're able to connect again because, now that I'm no longer in that crazy world of campaigning, I can sit back and take it all in.
Well, it also gives you an opportunity to take a look and see what's going on around you as far as politics and so forth. Like we were discussing a minute ago about that I'm gonna call him a young man because I'm gonna be nice.
You gonna call him a young man? No.
Didn't I say I was being nice? I'm trying to be.
Why?
You know, when they go low, I still believe we got to go a little higher.
You know what? All right, we're gonna talk about that, Kendall. Let's talk about. I hope we talk about this.
I don't believe we should do what they do because then it makes us kind of like just like them, right? And we're not.
No. You know what? I feel like we're in a boxing match right now.
Okay.
I do. So we've done that. The go higher when they go low, and honestly, I don't believe in taking cheap shots. But if we have a fair one. And you square up, I'm squaring up too. And I think that's where we are right now. Because I want to get into this.
But I give you a quick example. Just quick. We got a minute or two. So I give you a quick example. Sonny Liston and Muhammad Ali, they had to fight. Yeah. Sonny Liston did him dirty because he put something in his eye. But see, Muhammad Ali in return turned around with his skills, whipped that ass, right? Knocked him out.
Say my name.
You see what I mean? So when my man Sonny Liston decided to go low, Ali went high because he didn't come back throwing something in his face, stomping and yelling and getting angry. He came back with skills. So what I'm saying is, even though that young man, as I want to call him, he's dirty. He's a liar. He's a crook. He's a thief. He's convicted over and over again. We all know this, but we don't have to come at him with something like that, right? I call him a young man. Lock his young ass up because he should be in jail with the rest of the criminals. That's just how I feel about it. But I'm not gonna call him out of his name.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a nice way of work around it. All right. But I'm just saying, we're talking about like him being young. It's really ironic as he's called Joe such an old man, which they're both pretty much similar in age. So we want to make sure that we're just putting truth to power and facts of facts. Trump is a 77-year-old man running for president, and that is what it is. You want to say he's young or old, that's on you. We're just gonna put his age out there.
That's on me. If I'd say he's an incompetent young man.
Well, I think that's facts. So all right, we're good.
Back. He's not really qualified to do, not unless you want a dumb dictator, because even a dictator, the ones that I see, they still got a little smarts about them. They're still able to do and run the countries the way that they need to. This guy's not going to run a country. He's going to run a country the same way he runs his business, in the ground.
Right. And we've already seen it. It's not like this is going to be we don't have to guess how he's going to be as a president. We've already lived through it. And we're still dealing with the pain of that.
We certainly are. Like I said, with that meeting today, oh man, this guy was just lying after lie after lie. And I don't understand. Again, how could you invite this man to come to your event? An event like that, that he refused to come to year after year after year. And now when you got a young lady running, a sister running, he decides to come to this event so he could try to make her look bad by saying that she refused to come, which was not true.
We know that.
It was not true at all. She had a prior engagement. Matter of fact, Biden had already agreed to show up. He was going to come to that. And now that he had fall out, she was supposed to, I guess, take his place, but she said she would do it via video.
Right.
She had to go to to the funeral.
Well, look, we have a president that's had about 102 days to run around this country and be president. So we're going to give her some grace because that's not easy to do. She's stepping up when we needed her, and she's stepping up big where the country is ready to support her. And I think Trump sees the writing on the wall, so he's going to do anything he can to really disqualify her. And I'm glad you brought up this invitation for NAPJ, right? Because, I mean, think about it. It's the National Association of Black Journalists. And I do understand people scratching their heads as to why would they invite him. But as a journalist, you should invite both parties so you can expose both parties. And actually what happened today was utterly disrespectful and utterly indicative of the type of person he is.
Sure was. Well, what did Maya Angelou say? When a person shows you who they are, believe them.
Oh, yeah.
He done showed you who he was. He's a snake. And you can't trust the snake. You can't trust us because the snake is only out for the snake. The snake is getting out for the rest of the people that think that he's supposed to be supporting and helping. And I want to do this for the people. The Christians. What did he say to the Christians? Did you hear that?
You don't have to vote again if you don't want to.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In 4 more years, you don't got to worry about it. You won't ever have to vote again because we got it fixed.
And the Republicans are having a hard time really cleaning up his conversations. They're really doing it with a straight face. I give them a lot of credit for that because they were asked about, what do you think about his saying to Christian nationalists, you don't have to vote again if you vote this one time. And they're like, well, it's a fact that they don't come out and vote. And I think he was just saying that they could, if they come out this time, we'll have the country's problems fixed. Right. He does not want participation in our democracy, because if we get more participation, then it's not as slanted to the side of the powerful.
Oh, it seems to be slanted. It seems like we're living in a two-tier system anyway. So I didn't get an opportunity. I know I got an opportunity to say your name, but I didn't get a good opportunity to really introduce yourself. So I kind of want you to do that. You would do it much better than I, because if I had to introduce you, the show would be over with. It would be a 3-day show trying to read your resume. So I think you can shorten it up and let people know who you are.
Yes. So first of all, thank you. I'm a friend to the station, so thank you so much. And for those who don't know me, my name is Keir Bradford-Grey. I am currently a partner at a law firm, Montgomery, McCracken, Walker & Rhodes, where I do mostly government investigations. I do some white-collar defense. I pick and choose what I want to do. I represent a lot of women CEOs because I do believe that women have to be supported and protected in ways that others may not have to, and I know what that looks like. And so I want to stand up for them. But prior to that, I was the chief defender of the Defender Association of Philadelphia, which is the largest criminal defense law firm in the state and the 4th largest in the country. And we represent people who have been charged with crimes, both juvenile and adult. But we also represented kids in what we called dependency hearings, where that was child abuse and neglect hearings. And those are civil hearings. So we got to see a lot of the problems with the family unit and family dynamic through that work. And before that, I was appointed by Josh Shapiro to be the chief defender of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And so I got my leadership skills. I cut my teeth in leadership when I was with Josh, and it grew from there. I had always been a lawyer who was very passionate about civil rights and advancing the rights of others and forcing constitutional protections to include more people who many people don't care about. And I know what that looks like from a personal and professional perspective. I grew up in, a not so wealthy neighborhood, and I did see lots of good people that I know and love get swallowed up by a criminal justice system that really mischaracterized who they were and what they did. And I just felt that if I ever had a chance to give a different context to a decision maker who's judging people who they don't understand, I wanted to do that. And that's why I became a public defender. And, I remained a public defender for 21 years until I became a partner at a law firm. And I just come off of running for an office myself, which is the Office of the Attorney General. While I was not successful, there is still opportunity.
Anyway, you're going to run again, right?
It only opens up like once every 8 years unless something happens, but I'll keep my eyes open.
All
but
right. How about another position besides Attorney General?
I have to figure that out. You know how sometimes for me, I might be a little different than others, right? I don't just run for roles to run for them. They have to really speak to my values, my principles, and of course, my expertise. And I'm one that was very intentional about where I wanted to serve. And that role was one because I know what that role can do for communities that I care so deeply about. I was very passionate about that, and my vision was very clear. So it just made sense for me to go for it.
Mm-hmm. So you're very much a community leader, and you're out there in the community doing a lot of work with the community to try to help out the community.
Yeah.
That. That's the way we sum it up.
As best as I can,
Best as you can. Speaking about that was a good segue. Josh Shapiro. Vice President Josh Shapiro. What do you think?
Listen, I think that's great for Pennsylvania. I really do. I mean, look, everyone's going to have issues with someone one way or the other when you're putting yourself out in a public sphere. You're going to piss some people off. And I know there's been some chatter from certain groups that they are not happy with some of the decisions he's made. Mm-hmm. And I know there's chatter with other groups that they're extremely happy with decisions he's made. But I do think it'll be great for Pennsylvania. And I always have to say, because Josh Shapiro gave me my first opportunity at leadership. Okay. And so I'll always be grateful to him for that.
Mm-hmm. I'm grateful too. I'm glad because if you didn't, you wouldn't be here. So
that's right. That's right.
That's right. I think that was a good segue. I think he would make a good vice president. But if he becomes vice president, that means our lieutenant governor becomes governor, right?
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Yeah. So that means that slot for lieutenant governor would be open. How about
this? Is crazy.
Would you be open for it? Would you be open for it? Could you be a
king? Well, listen. I couldn't even begin to talk about that right now. We haven't even discussed that. But I will say this. That is an amazing opportunity for anyone to be able to step in. But is Pennsylvania ready for 2 African Americans leading the state?
I'm not worried about what somebody they said that in 1776, right? Right? What did they say? They signed the Declaration of Independence. All of us should be free, but I don't know if the country's ready to free the slaves.
I know, right?
You got what I'm saying? So to me, I always said, when is the right time to do the right thing?
You're right.
So if you're the person that's most qualified, because we're supposed to, judge people on the content of our character, right? So if you're the best person for that slot, then I don't know why you don't throw your hat in the ring.
Well, there's no hat to throw yet, so we got to see what happens.
Well, we are African American, all right, and I mean that. My ancestry comes from Ghana. We came straight from Ghana, slid right over here to America. So my ancestry is from Africa, but I was born here in America. That makes it my place of birth, my citizenship. So yes, African American. We're both like that. And one of the things that we like to say, put it in the air. So that's
put it in the air.
Hey, watch this, Madam President Harris. I'm just throwing
that's
it in there,
right.
Whether people like it or not. And one of the things I'm really tired about hearing about and going back and forth is these damn crabs in the barrel. Black men and even some other, they are so much more critical when it comes to us. When we, Kamala Harris is the bomb. She's right. She's so
very ready.
She has so many things going for her. And yet I hear all these opposing views from people. And most of them come from black men. So what are we playing? The crabs in the barrel? Or is this misogynistic? Or why do they keep doing it? I don't understand it.
Believe it or not, if you're looking at all those posts in all those different Kevin Samuel groups,
right?
Those aren't black men that's making those posts. Look at the name and click on that name underneath there, and you'll see that it's white men that got Keep America Great caps.
Oh yeah,
They're posting in those groups because they've taken over those groups. You know, and they're the ones posting that, and you're thinking it's black men doing it, and it's not.
Well, I was listening to it on the news. Actually,
Yeah,
I wasn't.
yeah,
It wasn't doing it online.
Yeah, but that's what's happening.
These are what I've heard on different radio stations and different television. You know, it's kind of been out there, right? That black men are against Kamala Harris, and they're all for Trump because of this RICO Act nonsense. Because of some rapper who thought he should be involved in politics.
If you didn't do the crime
for the community.
You didn't do the time.
That's what I say.
So if you did the crime, you do the time.
That's right. That's what I say. I think
lock them all up.
The sister was.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on.
Lock them all up.
Here's my thought. Yeah. Right. We need some order, social order in our community. So people who are really causing us harm, you need a cool out period. And I really believe that. But I do believe we need some balance in our system as well. But if you're out there robbing, killing, stealing, sexually assaulting, and all these other things, then you'll have to face the music. So I do agree with you there. And there's some people that get mad because Kamala was a prosecutor that she actually locked people up. Well,
she was doing a job. Oh,
right.
My God.
And I mean, doing your job is doing your job. You've got to have some balance. You do, because we cannot be used as a scapegoat to this system to justify its existence. However, we can.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to stay with that just before we left there. Now, the prosecutor can only recommend to the judge as to how much time a person can receive. So even if the prosecutor says the maximum, it's actually up to the judge to decide how much time that person is going to get.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, there's a lot of things that go on in between, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, look, we're talking about a system that generally has people representing majority of those who have very little resources. And we're talking about public defender systems across the state.
Right.
There's not a lot of, you know, when, and I don't know what this world, you said some stuff, so I might have to give some liberties here. So listen, when I say that when prosecutors say, oh, I have 100% conviction rate, and I want to say, well, who did you fight? Did you fight a defenseless person who had a lawyer who was brand new out of law school, had about 50 cases on the list? That's like beating a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, right? You can't be proud of that. But if you have a strengthened system where there's good lawyers on both sides and you're able to get that conviction, then that's credible. That's credible. So we have to watch out for the system itself, but the actors in it are going to just have to have the right balance and the fundamental fairness. If the process is fair, you're right. The judge is just to make the decision based on a fair process. But if the process is slanted, which often it can be, and I'm not going to negate that, then we have to really fix that.
Sometime again, like I said, I feel like if we're living in a two-tier system, especially when it comes to to justice, because it doesn't work the same for us as it does for others. And like they say, what did it say? No one is above the law, and the law is for everybody. I don't know. They I guess they haven't met Trump yet.
Right. We keep seeing it a little differently, don't we?
Hey, from what I can see, he keeps slipping and sliding every time you turn around. And how many young men that look like you and I, that they get arrested for a particular crime, but they'll end up serving a whole lot more time than someone that doesn't look like us.
That's right.
And that does happen. And that again is a problem. But again, like I was telling you about Ms. Harris, but she also, while she was a prosecutor, she also had other programs to keep young men out of jail.
That's right. She had balance. And that's what we need to be thinking about. We need to make sure that people we have a job to do on both sides. And you got to just bring balance, right? You're not going to, give people a chance where it makes sense. And where it makes sense that people have to go away because they cannot be amongst us, that's what it has to be. But just because you worked as a prosecutor doesn't mean your only goal is to lock people up. Mm-hmm. Your goal is to have some order and preserve public safety. And just because you're a defense lawyer doesn't mean that you agree with every immoral thing that people do. Your goal is to make sure justice is being served and the fact that the prosecutor is actually proving a case in a fair process.
I just want to say it again, just as my man would say, I'm going to put it where the ghost can get it. She was not only involved as a prosecutor to lock your ass up, she also had programs to keep you out and to help keep young Black people from even reaching the point of getting locked up in jail. and they were very successful programs. So, like you said, a balance, but she had the balance, and she did both.
Yes.
It's like people to know that, so they're not just living on the one thing that they like to live on. Because you hear about, well, black men, I'm not going to vote for her because she locked up black men. Yeah, okay.
You know what's so crazy? Kendall?
Mhm.
If they look at the ads attacking her, the Republicans are calling her the most liberal prosecutor. So
Believe
that alone ought to tell you that she was very balanced. And how dare they call someone a very liberal prosecutor that lets criminals loose when your own presidential candidate is a convicted felon and has more cases.
34 counts?
34 counts.
30.
And that's of, but let's break it down, right? It's not he had two civil suits where he was found liable for sexual assault civilly, and the only reason why he couldn't be found criminally liable is because the statute of limitations had run. He had another civil suit brought by Letitia James, where he was found guilty to have lied to the New York City taxpayers, where he inflated his wealth when he wanted to get money from banks and deflated his wealth when it came to paying taxes. He lies, he cheats, he sexually assaults, he manipulates. This is a person of low character. And I'm sorry, if that is low, then I'm going there.
How about all the immigrants? He don't like any immigrants, right? But he got them working for them.
He married one.
Wait, he married one. Stop playing.
He married
Over and
one,
over again.
Yeah, he married one, but he doesn't like immigrants.
Ivanka's mother was, I think she was not originally from here, and his current wife. But let's talk about.
His daddy wasn't from here. His daddy was from Germany.
Oh wow.
Oh man, even back in the day when they talk about his daddy, they were talking about how he's out there with a Nazi is, supporting the Nazis and whatnot.
But let's also talk about the fact that Trump has 5 kids by 3 different women. 3 different women. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, by all standards, if you were to put this to say he was Barack Obama, and we were to be talking about him in a profile, we would just as a black community, we would probably disqualify Barack Obama based on the things that we allow for Trump to get away with.
Again, like I tell you, in the black community, it's very unfortunate that we're more critical of our own. All the things that they're talking about with Vice President Harris, and as hard as they're coming down on her, they're not coming down on Donald Trump like that. For all the things that we sit here and talk about what he does and what he didn't do, they're like, you got people out there that still want to vote for this man.
Yeah.
And if he's not the Antichrist, I don't know who is. Because every time I see this man, I swear I see them horns sticking up on fire. You know, the horns with the fire on the top. That every time I see him, that's why his hair is on orangey red, because it's the fire from being the Antichrist. But that's my opinion. Let's keep it clean.
I don't know if that was pretty low or high. I don't know, Kendall.
I'm an artist, right? So, technically I'm an artist. I paint, I draw, I sketch, I use photography, video. So it's my imagination. This is what I see when I see him.
I'm not mad at it.
It don't have to be everyone else's view, and I'm not asking it to be. I'm just saying that's what I see when I see. I see 2 horns sticking up, and both of them are on fire. Red fire, right? So telling a whole bunch of lies to a whole bunch of people, and just continue. And with all of these lies and everything, I really feel like sometimes, like if we of African Americans, we got this what do you call it? The Stockholm syndrome, where you fall in love with your oppressors. Because this guy is all about oppressing us, but all of these people love him. I don't understand it.
I know. But I'll say this. I mean, you know what? I think when Joe Biden was there, they just had really the best opportunity to win, because all the things that they could say about Joe Biden, which really didn't carry the substantive weight. But of course, his age, his cognitive ability, his slowness, that was a problem. And I will admit that. However, I do think Biden is a far better president than Trump would ever be, even at his prime.
A dog would be a better president than him.
Right. Who? Wait, who?
A dog. Who?
Oh. You're funny.
I got a dog named Kume. He would be a better president than Trump.
Kume, what a cool name.
Yeah, Kume is Swahili. It means friend.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he's a pretty dog. I'm always talking about my dog. I'm gonna make my wife jealous because well, my wife is prettier than the dog. My wife is
As she should be. Thank you.
in there because I gotta go home. You know.
You know what? You better stop talking like J.D. Vance, who said, "My wife's not white, but I love her." Like what?
Wow. Damn. You know what that sounds like? Hey, my wife's not white, but I'm a nigga lover anyway.
Well, it sounds crazy. I
It's
mean,
not like that.
but this is who these folks are. And the more they talk, the more you understand exactly who they are. Let Trump go off script, because when he goes off script, you hear how he really feels about us as African Americans. And Kendall, you opened this show with talking about NABJ. And quite frankly, I think we should talk about some of the stuff that he said. Do you know he questioned Vice President Harris's intelligence because he said she didn't pass the bar. He basically called her a bum. He said she's trash. He was rude to the reporter who was actually who was interviewing him. He was very dismissive. This is what he thinks about us. And when he says that these other people, these immigrants are coming to take our Black jobs, it's because he thinks we're only worthy of bottom-feeding jobs.
Check this out. Now, at the end of Reconstruction or the end of slavery, that's the same thing they said about Black people. That the Black people were coming to take your jobs.
That's right.
Same thing they said. So it's always back to this fear factor. That we're coming to take something away.
That's what that whole replacement theory is all about.
Yeah,
right.
They're fearful that we're gonna 2025. They're fearful that we're gonna do something, so they got to do something about it.
Right. Instead of building our nation that's inclusive and is more abundant, when we start to get into it, because we bring different talents and skills and cultural dynamics that they enjoy too. And so we all eat, and our economy is full when we're thriving as well. When we are sucking from the economy because all we can do is get very low-level jobs and we still have to rely on subsidies, that's when we don't do well as a country.
Right. And we're doing very well as a country, and I want to give thanks to the Olympic team, our gymnastics Olympic team. I'm telling you, boy, them ladies. And you want to talk about all inclusive? Come on, diversity.
Let's talk about it.
Oh, when I saw them doing this thing, I was like, look at that sister. And then there's an Asian chick and a Spanish. I was like, oh, come on. We got it going on. Now, this is what America's supposed to look like.
That's right.
And when we come like this, when we come all inclusive like this, well, we whip some ass. Ask the Germans in World War II. When we come in there, all this coming in inclusive, well, there's no stopping us because we act like we're one village, one family, and it works well. And we treat each other equal with respect. I just got to take a little break here for a second.
Okay.
I want to talk about August 17th. August 17th, we have unity in the community going on. We get the kids come, they can get their face painted. Correct, Terry?
Absolutely.
We're going to have some entertainment out there, some live good music for you guys to come out to listen to. We got cars, an old car show. So if you like the old cars and you want to see the classics, come on down and check out the classics. We got video recording. We're going to have some photography going on. And we always say a prayer to start it off. Okay? So please, come on down. August 17th, Danbury Park in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania at 12 noon. That's Danbury Park, 12 noon, East Stroudsburg. Thank you. Let's get back to you, young lady. Almost lost my train of thought there. So I'm going to rewind.
I love that you talked about the Olympic team, because I want to say, look, when I was a little girl growing up, I remember the only one person that I ever saw that looked like me was Dominique Dawes. And I just remembered, being a gymnast didn't seem like it was something that we could just enter into easily. And she was, revered, but it almost seemed like she had to be like a unicorn, And now fast forward, you see young girls can see them in all different cultures being represented across the board. And I love that. I love that for my daughter. And I love that for, she don't have any children yet, but for my daughter's daughters or children. I love the world that we're building, and I'll be damned if we're going to go back.
Well, they're trying to take us back. They're trying to take us way back to like the 1950s. Some people would even say the 1700s. I say the 1950, where African Americans didn't have a voice and it was easy to control them. Women didn't have a voice and it was easy to control them, and the rich white men were in charge. What was it? Not until the 1970s that a woman couldn't get a bank account or even a credit card without the approval of a husband. So they kind of want to roll it back to those kind of times. That's where I think they're trying to take us back to.
Yeah. I mean, they've already, with women, and, especially me, we are going back. We are seeing that. Look, right now, I have less rights than I had when I was born.
You got less rights than your mother had.
Right. And so my daughter has less rights now. And, I am really concerned that I can't even believe we're talking about this. You can have your own moral beliefs, but why should you superimpose your morality on me? That's between me and my maker, what I decide to do with my body, and you should not be involved in that.
Especially coming from people who say we need to have less government. We need to have smaller government. They sure seem to be using government. They sure seem to be using government and legalities to make these changes happen.
In the wrong spaces. Kendall, you hit the nose. You hit the nail right on the head. You, in every other aspect, if you read the Project 2025 plan, they really are setting policy for how they are going to dismantle many federal government agencies, from the Department of Education to even more agencies that we rely on to make sure that there's checks and balances.
How about
they don't want government.
How do you do away with the EPA?
Right.
I can remember as a kid, well, not as well. I can remember some years ago, you go through Jersey and they had all the smokestacks and it would smell horrible. That you could smell all the garbage burning and all this stuff. Well, the EPA came out, rules, regulations, and said, no, you can't do that no more. So now you can go through Jersey and you can breathe again. I can't understand how you're talking about clean air, clean water, clean environment. How would you do away with an organization like that? And what do you put in its place? Judges?
Yes, that's exactly what they're going to do, because you know why? We don't pay attention to all the levers of government that actually protect us. And so sometimes we don't come out to vote for judges. We don't think it's important because we only see judges if we get in trouble. And many times those are the ones that are now going to be making the groundbreaking decisions, because let's just talk about what the Supreme Court did. They overruled the Chevron decision. Now, Chevron was a decision that basically said we were going to let the administrative agencies who have expertise in the subject matter that we're dealing with have more weight and authority over how people should be handled. So when it came to the EEOC, meaning the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which governs the way employers should treat employees, that entity that studies that role so much will no longer have the weight that it needs to, so that now the courts will be deciding on cases where judges may not even have the expertise in those areas. Everything is going to be battled out in the courts. And we know only those with resources and means could truly fight in those courts. Those without means are just going to be asked out of luck.
Also, while we were talking about that, I was just thinking about unions and how the corporations, even during my lifetime, they would threaten people if you wanted to try to start a union. But I understand that the Biden administration they're coming up with a bill that if you want to be a part of the union, that your company can't fire you. They
that's right.
all kind of things. And I think that's great, because so many people have been turned away from joining a union because of the threats from these large corporations.
Yeah, and actually that's already in law right now, that no one can be retaliated against for formulating a union. People have a right to form a union. Many people hear the word right to work, right? Mm-hmm. And they think that that's a protection thing, but it's not. What right to work is, and this really was embedded in the Trump era, right to work means if you did not want to be in the union in your job, you didn't have to pay into the union. So you had people, even though your job had a union, the union had to protect people who didn't even pay into the union, which I like. It doesn't make any sense, right? I understand you don't want to be unionized, but if you're going to call on their protections, then you should have to pay.
You know, it's a very young mind that says, well, I don't want to pay, or I don't want to become a part of a union, because a lot of those cats don't have a family. They're not.
That's
A
true.
lot of times they're just looking for a paycheck. That's what. So they figure, well, if I had to take my money and put money into the union, what am I getting back in return? And as far as they're concerned, they're not getting anything back. Right now, a lot of them are privileged, and they're because they're living off of what the people before them fought for. So
Yeah,
now they think that they don't have to continue to fight for it, and
that's right.
they'll lose it. They'll lose it. You don't want to pay money. Just a union is like any other organization. They need money to thrive in order to do the things that they do. I mean, but they're people like anybody else. Of course, you got your people that are corrupt, but basically, a union is they need money in order to, like a candidate, and you want to continue to run your candidacy, you got to have some funds to do that. That's why.
You sure do. You
Well,
sure do.
union doesn't really have fundraisers. What they do is they have members that contribute, that make contribution to make these things happen. And,
That's right.
and it becomes like a family. So we know that the greatest organization and the strongest organization on the man is family. So as long as we start to act more and more like family in this country, within the unions, and all of us start to become more inclusive and care about what goes on with one another, I think we will actually have a better country and
That's it.
a stronger country.
But you realize, in now that we're in the digital era, we're becoming less and less village kind of focus, and now we're more individualized. Everything is about me, the individual instead of the we. When I was growing up, we had neighborhoods where people looked out for one another, and people told your mother or your father if you weren't doing something right. Now it's about mind your business, stay out of my business.
Right.
Don't look in my back door. Don't be looking in what's going on in my house. Don't worry about me. And everybody has become so individual. We have really gotten away from the collective good.
Mm. Mm. Well, we've had some great people through our history, recent history, that explain these things to us. Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, but even beyond that, there's a young man. His name is Tom Burrell, and he happened to write a book called Brainwashed, and he explains a lot of these things, and a lot of things that are going on is they're utilizing marketing tactics. And they use them on the internet now. Remember back in the day, if you wanted somebody to smoke cigarettes, they put the big billboards out like the cool cigarettes. And
with the camel.
Right. So they're using the same type of tactics, but now it's digital. You want women to wear the straight hair and lighten their skin, then all you got to keep telling them is that look is beautiful. And you'll get a whole bunch of people that want to follow behind it. Men that'll say, yeah, that's a beautiful thing. But you take the same woman, you make a chocolate, you change the color of her hair, and you put her hair out, and she's not beautiful anymore. So this is the way that they're messing with our heads.
Yeah, and that's what I like about one of the strengths that we have right now too. We are seeing a lot of beautification in our skin, in our complexion, and our hues, and all the different colors that we bring. And I'm loving that as a woman, that I'm seeing natural hair, dark skin, beautiful black skin be featured in magazines and television, and we need to keep that up. And this is why I'm segueing into something here, Kendall. By what I was saying, this is why diversity, equity, inclusion is real, and it's not about picking someone because they're Black, but it's sharing a perspective and a vantage point that people in corporations need to be aware of, because they always make the common mistakes when it comes to marketing to us, and they don't know what we think or how we feel. So you need people who represent us to help you with your business practices, because the Black dollar does go far these days. And our Black dollars, when we started creating our own brands, it showed that we created billions in industries because we're now buying our own brands. And so businesses are now trying to get into that. Juneteenth is now become a national holiday. Guess what? Walmart got Juneteenth stuff. Kmart, wherever you go, right?
Yeah, well, we're not making money on it. I'm glad that it's out there and you see the products in the store. But the people that are producing that product, that's not us.
Exactly. But they're marketing it to us because they know our dollars go far. Right. And I would say to anyone on Juneteenth, we need to buy Black. It's Juneteenth. This is where we need to economically uplift our Black businesses, our Black entrepreneurs, and people who reflect our values and cultural awareness, because that's what Juneteenth is about.
I agree 100%. And there are a lot of artists out there, and when I mean people that can make clothes from you, they're not exactly Calvin Klein. Okay?
Right.
But there's a lot of brothers and sisters out there. I know my brother was like that. He was a fashion designer, and one of his quotes that he would say, he would never wear someone else's name on his body. So everything he made was in his name. And when he designed clothes for other people, he did it within the community. I grew up in the projects, Brooklyn, right? So he did it. He did it for the people in the community, so he could let them know you don't have to buy Calvin Klein. You can buy from me, and my stuff is just as good. And
Right.
I put the value on it. Here's my name, my value, and I live right here. You can see me, so you see where this money is being circulated throughout the community. Yeah, you're not going downtown to Macy's because that money is not being circulated in the community. And matter of
Right.
fact, but half the places we spend our money, they do nothing for us in our community at all.
Nothing.
Not
And
maybe
our dollars go
vacation.
right out of our community.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then they got us going outside of our community, so we're not even. But the funny thing is, when I was growing up as a kid, you go out to the corner store. The guy in the corner store looked like me,
Yeah.
and that guy in the corner store, you know where he lived? Above the store. And then you had people all throughout the neighborhood. Where would they spend their money? In the neighborhood.
Right.
So we would keep money within the neighborhood. It only started getting bad is when the money left the community and started going outside the community because people wanted to buy the fancy stuff or what they thought was a better product. So, from people people don't even like them. What was it? The Timberlands? The guy,
Yeah.
everybody had to wear them Timberlands until he came out and said he didn't like black people wearing them.
Wait, was it Timberlands or Tommy Hilfiger?
No, well, both of them.
Both.
Yeah, it was both of them. But
Wait. Somebody they said they don't like black people wearing Timberlands.
Yeah, it was Timberland. They because those were like hiking shoes or whatever.
Oh wow!
We kind of wore it as a style, yeah, but they didn't appreciate us wearing their product.
You know what? I don't think I know the Timberlands. I didn't know Tommy Hilfiger, but I know my husband is a connoisseur of Timberlands. He's from Jersey, so Jersey and Timbs. That's what they do, and I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we buy a lot of stuff from people who don't like us except for our dollar.
Well, that's been throughout the history of time. But I'm hoping we're going to become more entrepreneurial minded. But when we become entrepreneurs, we've got to have access to capital. We've got to have access to banks. We've got to have those same things, those same supports, and and safety nets that other people have. And that is the reason why a lot of businesses fail. It's not just because they're not good business people, because there's a lot of people who are not black that open businesses and they don't do well. And they get a lot of bailouts, a lot of grants, a lot of opportunities through banking systems and financing systems that we don't get.
I just got a question. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I don't even like to use the devil, but I just had a thought in my mind when you said that. What in the hell did we do prior to integration?
Prior to what?
Integration. I mean, we built our own businesses. We built our
separation
homes.
was good.
We built our schools. We educated ourselves. We did so many great things prior to integration. It just seems like when we became integrated, we became more segregated as a people. And we were trying to live and go places where we weren't wanted. And then we started spending our money outside of the community because we could. I'm not for segregation by any means, but especially on a legal terms. But we're still segregated.
Yeah.
Now we're more segregated amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I can see that. And I can see, look, I see both sides of that coin, right? Because when we were segregated back when we had to be, we had to take care of our own villages.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have access to the political power. We didn't have access to the decision making. So those are the things, the access points were the tough part. And people could make decisions that impacted us with the drop of a dime without our input. Mm-hmm. But integration, while we have access, have we made it better for us as a whole? And I think that's the point you're making. And I think we have to really look at that.
Mm-hmm. Again, like I said, I believe we become more segregated as a people when integration came around. Because even during the segregation and back in the day, when you say we didn't make any political noise, well, I don't know. Frederick Douglass seemed to me, he made a whole lot of noise. And a lot of things of what he did seemed to, you see it today. Booker T. Washington, I think he made noise too. back in the day, right? When we were segregated. I mean, even in some towns during the Reconstruction, you had black mayors, black people were coming together, and they were very much into politics, and they were becoming leaders within their own community, and they were building strong communities. The only reason, look, most people are segregated in this country and I still don't understand why we had to be the only people to integrate. Now, all these people here, but we had to integrate. But look, most people were segregated because of a language barrier. Not so much as the way they look, but if you were Italian, you went to Italian neighborhood because everybody in that spoke Italian. You can be comfortable and move around. A lot of Hispanics or Spanish-speaking people, they moved to Spanish-speaking neighborhoods. Right, and they spent their money in their neighborhoods, and if you look around, the neighborhoods have been growing. I go uptown to Washington, uptown in Manhattan, up in Harlem, in that area, right? Fort Washington, Washington Heights. And I watched that area just grow.
Fort Washington?
You can go to school there. You can go to school there. You can live there. You can live there for all of your life and never, ever have to speak a word of English.
Right.
So that's a very well-knit community, one that thrives and grows. And this is what I like to kind of see from us, is that we can, I know we're not monolithic, but we shouldn't be so far apart in policies and one thought. We should have one thought when it comes to certain things. We should be monolithic. When it comes to thoughts like childcare education, when it comes to talking about us receiving jobs or us moving up the ladder or us fighting for one another instead of this crabs in a barrel nonsense with Harris. We should be so critical against one another, because if a Hispanic or a Spanish person is running, man, they turn around and seem like all these Spanish people is behind them, and they don't have nothing bad to say about them.
Yeah.
Even the Republicans, when they get a candidate, they get behind them and they stay behind them. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they're on their side and they're not trying to pull them down. Us, it just seems like we're just always trying to pull each other down for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't understand it at all. What you say about that, Mr. T?
It's learned behavior, man.
Learned behavior.
That's what it is. It's learned behavior.
Learned behavior.
We were taught not to trust each other.
Yeah, we were taught not to trust each other.
That's right.
And even with that N word, which is a word I really hate, it really, oh my God, it insults me so much. But it shows me how much we've been brainwashed, even though people don't think we are. But I don't know, if you stand around and you can insult yourself and anybody that looks like you, and then turn around and call it a term of endearment, that someone gave you a label, that it wasn't from your language, it's from someone else's language, and they labeled you. All right, here's that Stockholm syndrome. And then you turn around and say, yes, that's what I am. And yes, that's what everyone else that looks like me is. And you can find some way to say it's a term of endearment. I don't want to get on a rant about that word, because that word is a little too much for me at times. Like, I can't stand to hear it when I'm walking down the street with these, not even just young people, but older people. But as I said, we are people that have been brainwashed. And I really wish people would understand that hundreds of years of being brainwashed. Don't think it didn't take effect or take hold in some ways, because it did. So yeah. And some of us are actually woke.
Wait. So you know what? Are we reclaiming our word because they stole it, they remixed it? I don't even know what it means anymore.
I know the word woke means that you're not asleep.
Well, you know what? When you listen to the Republican National Convention, woke meant the word you don't like. N-I-G-G-A.
Well, I guess I'm woke. I'm sorry. Because I'm going to stay woke. I'm going to stay woke. Because if I'm awoke, that means I can learn.
That's right.
I learn anything when I'm sleeping.
You better know it.
They can tell me anything. Because you ever see those TV shows when the guy's laying unconscious and they're giving him words and subliminal messages? They can't do that to me when I'm wide awake.
But they really started taking woke and creating a fear around that when they kept saying woke culture. So this is what DeSantis was running on, and it never really worked. It may have worked in Florida, but it never really worked for him as a presidential nominee. He kept talking about woke as being something that was coming in to disrupt family dynamics, whether it was LGBTQ or transgender or I don't even know what else.
I thought that was a CRT thing.
Yeah, critical race theory, whatever it was.
That was doing that. I thought that was disrupting the family and destroying and breaking everything down. I thought that's what it was doing.
You know, and then when they really came out with, I think the most offensive part, and this is when I really saw Vice President Harris in her role as vice president coming out to be more like outraged, is when they started to suggest that slavery was a training period. Like as if we were in some 400-year unpaid internship. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
and you know, it's been longer than 400 years. We can go way back. People think it started in the 1800s. No, we go back to the 1600s. We go way back.
Look, whenever it started, when it got to America, they tried to act as if we should be grateful for the skills that we built here in America. And what they're not understanding is you brought us here because of the skills we had.
We're so glad that you brought us here, Master. We are so grateful for the things that you have told us, Master. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been. I don't know where we would be, Master. I don't know where things would be, Master.
You know, my son and I went on we did a class called Journey to Africa.
Right.
And we had to learn about our pre-American history. So it wasn't just learning about history starting from slavery, because I didn't want my child thinking his ancestors were only slaves. That's a super resilient thing to know. But no, there was kings, queens, engineers, doctors, electricians, all of those things that were made us so unique, which is why we were brought over here. To really develop the lands the way that we had developed the lands in our areas. And when we finally went over, we went to Egypt, Aswan, and Luxor. We saw the Tuchin, which is now what the Washington Monument is. The Tuchin had been there for, we're talking about thousands of years. And so these artifacts have been really replicated by things that are deep ancient ancestors had already built and that are still standing thousands of years later.
But they're still talking about Christopher Columbus discovered America.
Yeah, we know that.
Mansa Musa. They should have met him.
This is why we don't have that holiday anymore. So I think we have eradicated that myth.
Did they do that? Did they do away with that?
Oh yeah.
What they put in this place?
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm way behind the times. I'll tell you. It's called what?
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Indigenous Peoples Day. Okay, right on. Or at least they didn't call it Indian Day.
I should say we have Columbus Day, but it's not the national holiday that it was. So my children don't have that day off of school anymore. It's not a day off.
Right.
So I shouldn't say we don't have it. It's still on the books, but there's no real celebration of it anymore. It used to be a holiday where everybody got the day off. We have parades. We have all that. There's no day off. At least I should say in Philadelphia, the kids don't get off of school.
Okay. I didn't know about that. Yeah, I've been retired for a minute, so I'm kind of out of the loop of some things. I'm looking for excuses right now. I didn't know. I really didn't know.
I don't want to misspeak. It's still technically there. We just don't use it. We don't celebrate it like we used to as a national holiday where people get days off and, it's a day off of work. I don't know about, I'm not sure what's going on in other counties, but I know in Philadelphia County, you're going to school on what was Columbus Day.
Right. Okay. I'm going to have to wrap it up, roll it up. I'm going to roll it in here again. Thank you for tuning into Genesis Radio. Right on. Thank you for tuning in to GenesisRadio.com. My name is Kendall, and I am the host of The Empowerment Show. We're on Wednesdays from 6 to 7, so anytime you want to tune in, we'd appreciate it. We always appreciate a telephone call. If you'd like to give us a call, the telephone number is 888-304-4401. This evening, we had Keir Bradford-Grey. I always get the Bradford. Something can't get out my mouth with that.
That's our slave name, Bradford.
I guess that's why I can't slide it out the way I need to. But we're very glad to have her on, and hopefully maybe she'll come on again. And if any one of her colleagues would like to come on and have something to say politically or otherwise, we're welcome to have you to come on to the show. So thank you again. My name is Kendall Stevenson. I am the host of The Empowerment Show. The Empowerment Show is part of Unity in the Community. So peace. We're out.
Thank you for watching, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. If you would like to be a guest on the show or want to show us some support, visit us online at www.keirbradford.com.